I'm going to talk today a little bit about the Metropolitan Redevelopment Agency, a little known agency at the city of Albuquerque. Try to get you up to speed on what we're doing, talk about our plans for downtown and the rail trail and a couple other things that we're working on. So this is who we are at Metropolitan Redevelopment. You know, we've been around since the 1970s. And like I said, we're kind of a little known agency coming out of urban renewal efforts in the 70s. There's a state statute that allows towns like Albuquerque to set up these agencies to reduce blight in urban areas. We've been doing that for a very long time. You'd probably know us from like the old Albuquerque High project, the Elvado project. Those are all metropolitan redevelopment projects in Albuquerque. Here's all of our metropolitan redevelopment areas in the city. So what happens here is the Albuquerque City Council will decide if they feel an area is blighted and give it a MRA declaration. So my agency can go in and use special tools to try to eliminate blight in those areas. And as you can see from this map, it's basically up and down Central, going a little bit, up and down into the Heights, and then up and down 4th Street, down Broadway, and out to the west side. So it's pretty much our traditional, more urban established neighborhoods. They've been declared since the early 80s, really. So some of them, like St. Joseph Hospital, Soldiers and Sailors Park, are maybe areas you're not so familiar with. But our latest redevelopment area that I should mention to all of you is Manal, which is that area from I-25 up to the Diversion Canal, I-40 to Manal. And so, yeah, you're familiar with that? Yeah, and so in that area, we're able to, like I said, use our redevelopment tools to help with redevelopment of the area. So this is just a little bit on our impact over the last couple decades. Lots of residential units through housing, hotel units, businesses supported, money invested, and retail and office space. Really, we do a lot of stuff, and it really is based a lot on whatever that mayoral administration is into at the time. So right now we're really trying to get housing going, so we've done a few of those projects. Some mayoral administrations are more into maybe redevelopment with some commercials. So we've done a lot of different type of projects, and we're a pretty flexible agency in doing that. So I'm going to go through a few of the incentives that we have. I know there's probably not a lot of finance people here, so I'll be pretty quick on these. But these are the types of things we do, impact fee waivers. So for any project in these redevelopment areas, we are able to waive parks, streets, open space trails, those types of fees. We don't waive sewer, water, building plan review, or building permit fees. But essentially what we're trying to do is make sure a project in a redevelopment area really gets facilitated and fast-tracked as much as possible. We also have brownfield remediation loans. Again, a program maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with, but we have about $450,000 to help remediate parcels. So if you're going in, for instance, and you're interested in purchasing a property and there was an old storage tank on it, and you're gonna have to remediate that, we have these low interest loans to help that developer remediate that site. One of our newer programs that's become very popular is our tax abatement program for development. So any development that meets some criteria that we have, it's basically a community benefit criteria, can receive a 7-year tax abatement, property tax abatement. So we basically freeze the taxes on that property until 7 years later, and then you're newly assessed. So it is a savings for these developments. The one on top that you see there's Via Agave, Mark Baker's project right next to St. Mary's downtown. That's a multifamily housing project. And then below that is the Downtowner, which is a couple hundred units next to Alvarado Station. So those are both taking advantage of the property tax abatement. We had about, I think, 11 of these in the first year that it was started. We've got a property that's being built over in Nob Hill and a few others. So it's a real popular, it's kind of a no-brainer program. So if you are building a new hotel, building some housing or something like that, you should be talking to us about the property tax abatement program if it's in an MRA district. We also offer competitive grants and loans for projects. So what's unique about our agency is, those of you that pay attention to state policy, you may be familiar with this concept of the anti-donation clause, where a state agency, a government agency can't give money directly to a private entity. Well, we can. We're a special exemption to that. So we are able to give a direct grant or a loan guarantee to a private development project. And we do that usually through an RFP process. This is one we did in 2022, where we went out and we said, who would like to create 50 or more units of housing? If you do, and you're able to, we will give you a direct grant into your development project. And we've done that on hotel and multifamily housing and other types of projects. It's really a way where we try to target a particular lot or a particular neighborhood to get some development going and provide an incentive for a particular purpose. So back in 2022, we were really trying to get some housing going. So this is a competitive grant program that went to the Downtowner, which I just mentioned, which is a large apartment complex that's going in right across from Alvarado Station. I might mention, by the way, just for those of you that are near Alvarado Station or Uptown, that the Downtowner is taking advantage of a new federal program that is an extremely low interest loan. It's about, I think it's going to come in around 2% for any type of development near a transit facility. So that's a new Special Build America program that's supposed to outcompete, the commercial rates that you see out there. We also buy and sell properties as well at MRA. So the Alvarado Hotel is an example of that. We go in and we buy the property, and then as a part of a development agreement, give it to the person that is developing that property, or lease it to that individual or that developer. And we've done that across the city. So right now we've got we've made 3 offers on 3 strategic properties that we want to get going that are vacant lots or on vacant buildings. And then we'll put out an RFP and say, we want somebody to put a hotel here, or we want somebody to put some commercial there. And we'll give you potentially a grant with that, $1 million as part of this capital stack that you're putting behind that purpose. So it's a really great program. We are always interested in properties too, by the way. I'll just mention, if you've got a blighted property, a vacant lot near your hotel that is a problem, or you'd like to see something happen with it, or it's up for sale, or maybe we can get a deal on it, please call us and tell us, because we've got money to spend to invest in properties. And as an example, we own the property next to Tallinn Market. If you know where that is, it's over on Louisiana and Central. There's been a vacant lot there. Used to be, for you old timers, the Blue Spruce Bar. Hopefully you didn't go there too much, but in any case, it's vacant now, and we just put it out for RFP for 50 or more units of housing, and we'll provide a development incentive with that. I believe whoever comes in on that will also get some tax credits for affordable housing. But that's what we do. So we are also trying to make these strategic purchases and get rid of properties. For the first time ever, we're going to go inventory all of the city's properties as well and do an assessment of their commercial value, and then start selling those properties or releasing them for development. We don't, believe it or not, have a handle on that. So the city owns a lot of land, and it's kind of hard to find out where we own that land. There's not a central, repository for that. But we've contracted with a firm that could tell us that, but also tell us this lot is good for a hotel, or that lot is good for a shopping mall, or whatever it is. And then we can start to deal in those properties and do a little bit more thoughtful development, in particular in vacant lots. This last couple of years, as a result of COVID, we released a storefront grant program to try to get storefronts going downtown, awarded to 15 businesses, doing direct grants to those businesses for them to activate a storefront, to get in there, start their restaurant, start their arts and crafts store, whatever it might be. So this has been a successful program. We've got a lot of nice new businesses downtown as a result. We're considering extending it to Edo, the East Downtown area, and also Robinson Park, which is also having a remodel of a hotel with the Hotel Arrive, Hotel Blue over there. But this has been a nice grant. We can design other grants like this. So we've been going out to the business community and talking about what other grants would be helpful. And one of those we've talked about is like a closing grant on a project. So very often what happens is, if you're a small business, I talked to a beauty salon the other day, they're moving into a new building, they're almost done, and the city inspector comes in and says, you know what, this and that is not right, the sidewalk needs to be redone, and all of a sudden there's an extra $10,000 of cost. We're considering a fund to close that out and say, we're the city, we made you pay all this extra money, but we'll cover the costs just to get you in the building and get something going there and make sure it's not a hardship for you. So this has really launched a whole new area for us, and I'll talk about this a little bit later when I talk about some new funding programs. Some of those are coming out of this downtown plan. So last year, we announced the mayor's downtown forward plan with these steps as part of our effort. And I'm going to go through each of these individually and let you know what we're doing. So on making downtown safe, we heard a lot from folks that they didn't feel safe downtown. The tourists maybe didn't feel safe. There was too much violent crime. We really have been working on this a lot with our new teams concept, which is basically private industry paying for overtime late at night. They've issued more than 5,000 citations in a year. We've got a lot of felony arrests. We'll be releasing those numbers soon, but it's been a successful program. So for that late night after 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Is a time when you typically get a lot of violent activity. And so the private sector has stepped up, contributed to allow folks that were, police that were doing overtime, let's say Walmart in the Heights, to come downtown and help us downtown. So it really has calmed things down. We talk a lot to officers, and the amount of violent crime has gone way down. We also see fewer fights and fewer vehicle incidents and things like that. The police are also working on diverting traffic. One of the issues that we had downtown was cruisers that would kind of like line up next to each other and, for lack of a better way of saying it, mad dog each other and then go get in a fight or whatever. And so now on cruising nights that aren't Sunday, we allow cruisers on Sunday, but on Fridays and Saturdays, we basically put them through a really frustrating maze of traffic so that you don't want to cruise. Like, you don't want to come down and cause trouble because we're going to make you go on a really uninteresting street. And you're going to go one way and you're not going to see any of your friends. So we're doing things like that to try to mix it up and make it a little different. We've been shutting down Central. We've been moving food trucks off of Central to give officers a line of sight all the way down Central and reduce crowding around food trucks that often results in fights. And so we've done a lot of different things. We'll be talking about that when we hit our 1-year anniversary of this plan. But the plus side is it's safer. And one thing I'm going to tell you later is the downside is we've kind of locked it down. So it's not as welcoming and fun. So I'm going to make an appeal to you later on that topic. Extending compassion and assistance, I'm going to talk about this a little bit in the next slide. But ACS, as Carl mentioned earlier, is a really big enhancement to what we're doing downtown. These are folks that are not police, but they can intervene with people that are in crisis downtown and need assistance and get them the assistance they need. That has been a plus. Also using our ECHO program and other things as well, but like I said, I'll have another slide on that. Offer people something to do. We're trying a lot of stuff on entertainment. The mayor has asked us to go back and look at how we do entertainment downtown. Talk to Visit Albuquerque and others about what tourists want in entertainment downtown, how do we make it interesting for them. So right now we're in the midst of our Birthday Live program, which is kind of an enhancement of our normal downtown activities where we've had buskers at cafes and street corners on Fridays and Saturdays. We just announced yesterday 3 block parties in different districts downtown. We're looking at trying, what would it be like if we had a little district kind of concept? So if you have a visitor at your hotel, you can route them over to Edo because that's the place you get fine dining or whatever it is, and do a little thematic stuff. We also announced yesterday, I'm sure you all know Wu-Tang, right? There are a lot of fans here, maybe a couple. Maybe folks older like me that don't know Wu-Tang as well, but GAHLA from Wu-Tang is coming downtown for a free concert, and we're shutting down Central on the 16th of September. We've already got 5,000 tickets sold after 1 day, and GAHLA will be there. We'll have a soul act as a warm-up, but we're trying out, what would it be like if you shut down Central and it had a big, fantastic concert. And so that's happening as well. We hope to have maybe a couple other events that will be fun too. I thought we'd get more like applause for Wu-Tang or something. But in any case, no love for Wu-Tang, huh? But the other thing we're working on is building more housing. So we've built a decent amount of housing downtown. I showed you the downtowner. We're trying to invest in more. I think you might be familiar with the Imperial Inn project, which is one of ours, right on Central. That's a fabulous project, a rehab of an old 1960s hotel. It's very kind of kitschy and different. It's gonna have a coffee shop and food stalls right there on Central and Edo. So that's long-term stay housing plus a hotel, I believe. So we've got a lot of little projects like that. We're looking for other hotel opportunities for conversions, which is another thing we're working on. So downtown housing is important. We want to get people downtown to not only be visitors, but to live there. This is the trend nationwide, is to treat your downtown less like an office place, you know, a place you go to work, and more like a neighborhood. So we're going through a gradual transition downtown to more of a neighborhood feel and trying to build that in. So, you know, dog parks occupy a big part of my life because we have enough people downtown now that they're demanding dog parks and they're out walking their dogs. So that it's transitioning downtown a bit on the housing side. Anchor, connect, and catalyze. I'll talk about this a little later, but we're trying to also offer opportunities like the rail trail that you may have heard about. That is an effort to connect transit and transportation and tourism and walking and recreation. Those connections around downtown are very important. Kind of relates to giving something for people to do. Investing in the climate future. We've got a lot going on with our buses, on new electric buses, and reducing the carbon footprint of those. And then also creating redevelopment tools. So one of the big things we did that I don't think a lot of people paid attention to was at the last legislative session, we got the authority to create tax increment financing districts. And those of you that have worked in other towns probably know about this. But what we can do now is in our MRA areas, our metropolitan redevelopment areas, we can declare a tax increment finance district that peels off a percentage of the gross receipts tax in that area. And then we can reinvest it in the area. So we can take a portion of city, county, and state gross receipts tax and reinvest it. This is the way Phoenix does business, Tucson, Dallas, Chicago, they all have tax increment districts. We've never had them in this form. So we are now able to create real money for reinvestment. The estimate on a downtown district is $10 to $15 million a year of reinvestment funds. I currently have about $3 million a year for citywide. So that's a massive increase just for one district. If that happens, we will be coming to the Hotel Association and others looking for projects because we'll have real money to invest at larger levels. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Gateway Center because I think it involves a lot of the stuff that you all probably talk about. This is the center that we've opened on Gibson that used to be, it's basically an old hospital that we're converting into now to services for folks that are in crisis, that have health issues, that are out on the streets and need intervention. I put this slide up here. I'm not the guy running this program, but I know how impactful it is to our redevelopment efforts because it's something we hear about a lot, especially in the context of downtown. What are we doing about the people that are on the streets that are causing problems or they're having trouble, they've got a health issue, they're just completely down and out? This is what we're doing, and this is what most cities, major cities across the US are doing, is creating these centers that people voluntarily can go to get a compendium of services. They can find a bed, they can find treatment, they can find other resources that they need. So these are all the types of things we have here. We currently have tenants in that facility that have hospital and medical care, behavioral health care, kidney care, job training, and other services. We've got city services like our ACS department, our trauma recovery center, encampment outreach team. So we are busting up encampments every single day across the city. Those folks can be diverted voluntarily over to the center if they need help. And then we've also got other services that listed here on the bottom on housing navigation, engagement, on job training. They have first responder drop-offs. So if a first responder finds somebody in crisis, they can be dropped off at the center and they can receive services. They can stay there overnight. They can receive medical services. There's sobering, medical respite care. So this is intended to help thousands of people. Right now, we help more than 100 people a day at this facility, and it's not even fully open yet. So I want you to know that this is kind of the future solution, or part of the solution to our issue with people that are unhoused or having these types of medical issues or trauma issues. So this is where that's going. People can voluntarily go. We can't, obviously, by law, force people into a facility, right? We don't do that anymore, but if ACS, if a nonprofit intervenes with somebody and that person says, yes, I need some help, they can get transferred to the center. So it's a very important thing that we're doing to help out. This just kind of, again, shows you what we have, the first responder drop-off options at the Gateway Center. People can come in for housing navigation, so they can come in, they can stay a few nights, but they can also get advice on where to find an apartment or how to get into some sort of living situation that isn't out on the streets. Also, as I mentioned earlier, trauma recovery and other services as well. This is all connected with our nonprofit treatment services that are out there. Okay, last I'm going to talk about the rail trail, which I think should be exciting for all the folks staying at your hotels. This is an idea and a project that's been around since the early 70s. People wanted a trolley on the old rail lines, they wanted trails, but Mayor Keller thought we should go for this and try it out. This is essentially a trail that runs along existing railroad tracks that are either in use or not in use. It's probably hard to see, but that's a circular route around the city that goes by some of our major landmarks like the rail yards, the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, Old Town, hooks into the Bio Park and the Bosque Trail. It's a pedestrian and bike trail that's 14 to 16 feet wide that will go around the city. And I want to mention 14 to 16 feet wide because you may be familiar with the Bosque Trail that's 10 feet wide. This is a much more, broader, larger trail that allows for a lot of pedestrians, up to 150 crossing a particular point every single hour. On the lower left, you can't really see it, but that's the crossing at Marquette, right by Commercial and First Street. For years and years and years, that was cut off. You couldn't cross the tracks there. We've opened it up. And now you have coffee shops like Via Miriam, Novel Point Coffee, and other activities around there that never happened before, showing how important it is to open up some of these spaces for folks. This is kind of what it looks like, not exactly, we'll see when it gets built, but you'll have, nice trees and landscaping on either side. You'll notice there's security, so we've finished our security planning. There's lights, there'll be shot spotter technology, cameras that have a line of sight up to 1,000 feet up on the trail, call boxes for folks, so your visitors to your hotels should feel safe going up and down the trail. And we'll also have park police that also monitor the trail. But it should be one of the nicer trails in the country. A lot more going on than you might be familiar with, let's say the Bosque Trail or the Tramway Trail that's pavement and dirt. This is not pavement and dirt. We're going to have a lot of elements to it that should make it look nice. Just for fun, I put up the Central Crossing for those of you that are here from the Doubletree and other places downtown. So for years, this has been a problem, and that's the central underpass at the railroad tracks, right? There's a pedestrian underpass on either side that's very narrow, and people cause trouble down there, and there's a lot of bad activity that goes on. Mayors have had to deal with this for years. We get tons of complaints. We get complaints from tourists that have to walk under there. So this is hopefully the solution to that problem. Just lately, I'll just mention, we took those pedestrian underpasses and we lit them up like it's the surface of the sun, and then we played loud orchestral music. We clean them out every day, we paint them, and it just doesn't stop people from doing crazy stuff and attacking the pedestrian underpass. It's really out of control sometimes. So this is now going to be different because we're going to put up 4 bridges or 4 ramps that take you up to the level of the tracks. and avoid the pedestrian underpass, which will be closed. So people will be able to get up on the top of those tracks, and we'll have a passageway there. But it's really nice. It's a great view of the city. You can see down central to the volcanoes, you can see up to the Sandias, and get a whole new perspective of our downtown. And the really cool part is this electric tumbleweed that Antoine Predock has designed, which is that little gold bubble there. So at the top of this track, you'll have like a, kind of a tourist amenity, a place to stop and take in the view that will light up at night with all sorts of colors. So it's similar to this. I included this Wells Park picture, but it's basically electric tumbleweed. Like I said, it's kind of this metal structure. And what we've done is we made a request that every time, this is like a New Mexico, Albuquerque tradition, everybody likes to honk their horn when they go on the underpass and freak people like me out when we're walking down there. But, or they get on their Harley and fire up their Harley. The lights, we want them to change color every time they do that. So we want to make it an entertaining, exciting thing. This is the flyover we envisioned for Wells Park. This is up about 2 stories in the air with an above ground plaza and commercial activities underneath. When you get up that high, you see above all the buildings of Wells Park. You can see the Sandias, you can see the Jemez Mountains, you can see out to the west. And it's a great viewscape up there. And it's about a quarter mile long total. But these are hopefully attractions that tourists will want to come see and check out. And it will really make our trail one of the best in the country. Antoine Predock, who designed this, is one of the world's greatest living architects at the moment. He's elderly, but this is one of his last projects, and we're extremely excited about what it can be for the rail trail. We really need your advice. We can't do it on our own. I've noticed in my job that people expect the city just to fix everything, and that every problem usually kind of originates with us. And the reality is we're all in it together, whether we like it or not. And I've never managed a hotel, and I'll admit that. But we need your input on what works and what doesn't work. So when I bring down entertainment downtown and we didn't get it right, please give me a call and tell me how we didn't get it right and how we could do it better next time. So we want to know what are the good entertainment things we can do, cultural attractions, food and dining. I'm really passionate on this idea. People are probably tired of me talking about it, that we need a really big touristy Mexican restaurant downtown. I would love to make that happen. I want people to come out of the Clyde and get a margarita. I don't want them to have to go drive 5 miles to El Pinto and get their margarita. I want it to be right there. That's my little theory, but if I'm wrong, you should tell me and give me some ideas that we can execute on. We're also looking for opportunities for hotel renovation and construction. These are just some areas that I'm thinking about. North Civic Plaza, which has been a parking lot for decades. We need to put something there. Edo, we're really close in East Downtown to having something really cool happening in Edo. Stuff is coming together there. But one more hotel, a couple more restaurants would really seal the deal, in my opinion. East Central. So we have a city councilor in East Central that is passionate about rehabbing East Central. We have an MRA area. There's hotel properties there that we could purchase, but again, I'm not an expert on which ones would be good for conversion or remodernization of those hotels. So if there's an opportunity to get East Central going again, that would be great. Obviously, it's a gateway for people coming in on I-40. I know it's a tough area, but I'm kind of one of those people that thinks somebody has to do something about it. We can't just let it languish. And then again, Manal, we talked about that earlier. Manal is an area where I know there's a lot of interest. And also, how can we enhance your existing properties? What else can be done in your area? I made a little note to myself to mention the Hilton Garden Inn Home and Suites over on Broadway and Central. So I had a really nice discussion with their property manager and their owner, and they hate our bus stops. For whatever reason, we have a bus stop on every side of their hotel. So probably not fair, but it just happened that way. And they said if you could get rid of a bus stop, that would make a world of difference. I don't know if you've been over there, but they hired this guy who was a former forward for the Seattle Supersonics to patrol the outside of that hotel. And he's 6'10", and he walks back and forth kicking people out off the sidewalk. And at first we couldn't get rid of a bus stop, but we worked it a little bit and we got rid of one 2 days ago. And it's making all the difference in the world. Like there's nobody congregating at that bus stop anymore. I mean, the stop is still there, but we got rid of the structure. So that's the kind of problem solving we can work on. We can't solve all your problems, but we can try to work on some of these. So if you have these nagging issues you want the city to get at, please let us know so we can at least try get working on those and problem solve around them. So that's my presentation. I know it was a lot, but again, we could really use your feedback and your input. This is how you get a hold of me. That's my cell phone at 895-2142. Love to talk to you more about any opportunities you see in your area. But again, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all today.